up, everybody? This is Justin for the 330 Sports Show. This is going to be a little bit of a different one, real quick. I'm going to try to keep this to 10 minutes or less, but it is Halloween season. You can look for our latest 2024 Halloween episode that will be dropping soon. That will be on Best Final Girl, Best Final Guy. But again, this is our fourth annual. So I want to revisit real quick back to some of our previous drafts. So let's go back to 2021 when we first started, and this is going to be our best horror movie draft. Matt Gambrell, Doug Eisenbraun, and Laura Allsweet did this with me, and again, this is the four of us have been doing this now for 4 years. So you can see here is our Halloween movie draft list. Laura went with The Devil's Rejects, The Shining, Event Horizon, Candyman, Suspiria, Jeepers Creepers, Jacob's Ladder, and The Audition. Matt went with Texas Chainsaw Massacre of 1974, Nightmare on Elm Street, Creep, Evil Dead, the original, The Exorcist, Shaun of the Dead, Saw, and Scream. I went with It Follows, Get Out, Drag Me to Hell, A Cabin in the Woods, The Conjuring, A Stir of Echoes, The Blair Witch Project, and Poltergeist. Doug went with Halloween, Psycho, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Wolfman, Hocus Pocus, Fright Night, The Strangers, and The Purge. So those were our 32 draft picks that we did of our favorite horror movies. Now, here were our honorable mentions that we didn't even draft. So 32 on, and you can read some of these, but I'm going to read just a few of them for the audience that might be listening on podcasts. The Ring, The Grudge, The Crazies, A Quiet Place, Child's Play, Alien, Jaws, 28 Days Later, Rosemary's Baby, Amityville, Carrie, Misery, Vivarium, The Last House on the Left, Let the Right One In, Insidious, Dead Silence, Pumpkinhead, Pulse, The Omen, Friday the 13th Part 4, Silence of the Lambs, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Zombieland, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Night of the Living Dead, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, Paranormal Activity, Diary of the Dead, Hush, The Fly, Good Night Mommy, The Lost Boys, Heredity, 1408, and Pet Sematary. Now, we did this draft back in 2021, so there might be a few more movies you want to add to that list. I can think of Smile might be on that list now. Some other ones might be on that list that maybe didn't make the cut back then. Now, 2 years ago, we went to our horror movie villain draft, and here are our villains. Now, obviously, right off the top, you're going to get some of the best and biggest ones, but we went with Freddy Krueger, we went with Hannibal Lecter, Chucky from Child's Play, Michael Myers, and then we went with Jason Voorhees there. We went with some of the actual spaceship in Event Horizon. I'm not going to list them all, but some of the main ones. We went with Annie from Misery, the creepy dude from Poltergeist. We went with Bram Stoker's Dracula. We went with Norman Bates. We even dropped in a Vecna there from Stranger Things. You got Jeepers Creepers. You got a bunch of weird, crazy ones in there, but a lot of really good movies. I will drop that in the comments, and you can check out some of them. You also got Pennywise in there and Ghostface from Scream. So a lot of really, really good stuff in there. Now, last year, we went with horror sequels that do not suck. And there's a lot of bad horror movies out there, but there's also a lot of really great ones. So here were our horror movies that don't suck draft from last year. Doug, I'm just going to read his list off. The Bride of Frankenstein. He went with The Silence of the Lambs follow-up because that's actually a little twist. The Silence of the Lamb is actually a sequel. So it's a little, however you want to think of that one. Frankenstein versus the Wolfman, Zombieland, Double Tap. Those were Doug's picks. My picks were A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, terrifying movie, Child's Play 2, Scream 2, and Final Destination 5, which kind of brings all things back together. Laura went with Friday the 13th Part 2, Doctor Sleep, which goes along with, why can't I think of it? It goes along with the Jack Nicklaus movie from, the 70s there. Saw 2, Halloween. Matt went with The Evil Dead 2, Aliens, 28 Weeks Later, and VHS 2. So, again, horror movies that don't suck. There's some good ones in there. All right, so let's see. This year we went with the final girl and guy draft, and you can watch the whole show and see our breakdown of that. But here is our list. I'm showing you some of the pictures first, but just be easier. Maybe you recognize some of them, maybe you don't. But there's some classic ones on there. So most people think of final girl, but there's also the final guy as well in some of these. But here's the actual list that we drafted, and there were a ton of honorable mentions that we talked about. So feel free to watch that show, listen to that show, and it'll give you kind of a breakdown. But Matt went with Ash from Evil Dead, Tommy Jarvis, only from Friday the 13th Part 4, that was played by Corey Feldman, Kristen Parker, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dr. Lawrence Gordon from Saw, and Andy Barkley from Child's Play. Doug went with Laurie Strode, obviously Jamie Lee Curtis of Halloween. Jennifer, I Spit on Your Grave. I've never seen that movie, but they said it is really creepy. Doug also went with Carrie White of the Carrie franchise, a Stephen King novel that was turned into a classic. Doug went with the whole Brody family from Jaws, and also Cecilia Cass, the Invisible Man. Laura went with Ripley from Alien as a great final girl in that one. Wendy from The Shining, Danny from Midsommar. And if you have never seen that movie, extremely creepy, weird, but great movie. Alice from Resident Evil, and Dan and Marty, a kind of a combination there, A Cabin in the Woods. I went with Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street, Sydney from Scream, Chris from Get Out, Julie, which was played by Jennifer Love Hewitt of I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Paul Sheldon from Misery. So those were our picks there. And a few other things we like to do here, just have a little bit of fun, but things to not do in a horror movie. And I'm just going to read them. These are something I came up with a couple years ago, but it applies every year. Number 1, do not use a Ouija board under any circumstances. Number 2, do not say, I'll be right back, or who's there? Don't do it. Don't be an ass. It's just good advice, because there's a good chance you're probably going to get killed. And if we go back to this final girl guy thing, they are generally virgins. They are generally clear of headspace, making good decisions. So in a horror movie, don't have sex, don't drink, or do drugs, because all 80s and 90s horror movies, or even into the 90s and 2000s, it ends up bad for them usually. Don't allow a spirit to possess a doll, Child's Play, Annabelle, all that good stuff. Do not investigate that strange noise yourself. Don't be black or split up on your own. You're going to be the first victim. Don't run upstairs. Go at the front door. Unless the killer, like in Scream, is at the front door, then maybe you want to go upstairs. Don't assume the killer is dead ever. And don't trust the clown. That's just good advice in a horror movie or real life. But those are some of our rules. I said I was going to try to keep this to 10 minutes. We are right at the 9:30 mark. So just wanted to share those things. We like to have some fun around Halloween every year. So thanks for watching. Everybody have a great day and happy Halloween.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.